I'm Perry Red. This is Socially Speaking. I just want to take a minute to share with you our commentary from the other side of the tracks.
The other side.
And now, a socially speaking commentary by Perry Red from the other side of the tracks.
The other side.
This week, a court of your choosing from the other side of the tracks. You know, it is nothing worse than not knowing where you stand. Nothing worse than not knowing where you're going. And even worse than the nothing worse is being led by folks who have no direction.
Perry Red.
Well, that's
The other side
the
of the
current
tracks.
Supreme Court. The makeup of 9 justices is an uncertain proposition for all Americans. You know what Forrest Gump said? You know, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, this ain't funny. It ain't no joke. It's not a movie. It's real human beings' lives. You see, the Supreme Court ruled today on behalf of a Texas convict who claimed that his intellectual disability made him ineligible for the death penalty. This is Texas we're talking about, and the Supreme Court came down on the right side of history. But here's the rub. Why was this even a question to begin with? You see, the High Court, Supreme Court, reversed for the second time a Texas court's ruling that Bobby James Moore could be executed despite the cognitive deficits that he has. Mentally incapable of making rational decisions. Now, in doing so, the majority of justices said that Texas relied on stereotypes of the intellectually disabled. And this ruling was led by Justice John Roberts. Now, he joined the court's unsigned opinion, which was opposed by 3 conservatives, Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch. Now, Clarence Thomas ought to be ashamed of himself, but he should have been ashamed of himself 25 years ago. So we don't even count him as even being a reliable vote for humanity. But this 6-3 decision included the newest Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh, since he didn't join the dissent. You know, he didn't sign on. So obviously he joined the majority. Now, the court originally ruled in 2017 Texas, the nation's leader in executions, the hot and fire Texas, they cannot use a decades-old definition of intellectual disability to determine who lives and who dies. You see, they're living in the past. Take your country back. They are obsolete. Going back to the good old days. They are traditionalists. And that's scary. As the country progresses, moves forward, grows out of its primal stage, primal nature, there are folks on the highest court in the land, only 9 out of 300 and some odd million Americans who make these decisions that affect everyone. The justices sent the case back to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and that court refused to change its original ruling, knowing that their ruling was based on archaic definitions of cognitive disability. That's problematic. It's sad, but it's true. Now, the court repeated the same errors that this same court previously condemned by emphasizing Moore's adaptive strengths rather than his deficits. And this is what Chief Justice John Roberts wrote. You see, in America, as they're having their glass half full when some Americans don't have a glass to begin with. It is an unfair way of judging the lives of people who don't have, those who are most vulnerable, those who need help. This Supreme Court is a scary one at best. As we look at women's reproductive rights about to come under the microscope again, hot and heavy debate will take place. And there will be some conservative minds who feel that and believe that harming other people is the best way to save babies' lives. Now, the three dissenters, they said that Texas did its best. This is what they're saying. Texas did its best. This is crazy. I gotta swallow this myself. To comply with the Supreme Court's last ruling, which they said failed to set clear guidelines for judging intellectual disability. The error in this litigation was not the court's decision on remand, state court, but our own failure to provide a coherent rule. This is what Justice Samuel Alito wrote. Now, if indeed the court failed to provide a coherent rule, then why would you continue to follow an incoherent rule? A failure. This is the illogical nature of conservative thinking. Donald Trump has subscribed to that. You got to understand, Donald Trump didn't have a way of thinking. He didn't even have a direction. He was just born into money. Therefore, he made decisions like an idiot, like the idiot he is. He was one of those like Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook CEO, said, move fast and break things. That's an idiotic proposition. Well, this decision was another in a series of high court rulings intended to eliminate the differences on how states decide who is disabled and therefore ineligible for the death penalty under a previous 2002 precedent and who is not. You best believe that when you have a court that is helter-skelter all over the place in no direction, you are certain to go right off the cliff following folks who don't know where the hell they're going. Well, this is the court of your choosing.
The other side.
And that was a Socially Speaking commentary by Perry Red from the other side of the track.
The other side.
Red Media.